13 boards. He had 5 three-pointers, the first rookie to ever do that in a game as the Nuggets took down the Spurs 132-126. Jokic scored 25. He dished out 11 assists as Denver pulled within a half game of the Clippers for second in the West. Pop with high praise for the Joker afterwards.
Porter's, he's a fine young talent, and Jokic, he's like a reincarnation of Larry Bird. He does everything. He's amazing. They were great.
Reincarnation of Larry Bird. That is impressive. Meanwhile, KD picked his champion on the Play for Keeps podcast, saying, quote, "If I had to choose," and I hate doing that because you never know what can happen. You've seen that with us last year. But if I had to choose, I will go with the Clippers and the Bucks for the chip, and I'll go with the Clippers. Perk back here with us. Perk, I'll start with you. So I ask you, tell me this. Who's the biggest threat to these LA teams?
It's the Houston Rockets. The one team that have 2 former MVPs still in their prime. At all times, the Houston Rockets have an MVP on the court. They're my dark horse contender. The only reason that I don't have them picked to win it all over the Lakers is because history tells us that you need a rim protector and you need a center. Now, they have a unique style where they space the floor, and if they do win the championship, it will be the first time ever that a team has won a championship without a defense, without a center in the middle to anchor the defense and a rim protector. But when I'm looking at this Houston Rockets team, they are very dangerous. They score at a tremendous rate. They could put up buckets and they could put up 15 to 20 points in 2 minutes. James Harden is on the tear. I love what he's doing defensively right now. He's taking on the challenge. That 20 pounds that he lost during the pandemic is showing. And then, during this offseason, what Daryl Morey did was he already had a Rolls Royce in the Houston Rockets. He backed that Rolls Royce out one day, seen that the service light came on. Instead of going to get an oil change, he went down there and put a whole new engine, a Ferrari engine, in Russell Westbrook. He brings that Mamba mentality to that team and is rubbing off on James Harden. And like I said before, the only reason that I'm giving a slight edge to the Lakers is because they have rim protection, and history shows us that no team has won the NBA championship without having a big man that could protect the basket.
So as a championship big man, I got to give you some credit for being able to accept that the Rockets are a real legitimate threat, despite the fact that they're doing it without somebody like you, which you're right, you've needed in history. But I agree with you. I think the Rockets are special, and they do have a chance to make it out of this bubble with a championship. And they're probably one of the most, or they are the most threatening team, I think, to the LA teams, in part because of what I saw in that one game against the recent game against the Bucks. And I understand we don't want to overplay how important one particular game is, but they've done this to a lot of people where teams are uncomfortable at end-of-game situations. We watched the Bucks take out the Lopez, and then that didn't work. Then they put him back in. We watched the Bucks try to post him up, Robin Lopez up, to pass the ball to him and run their offense through Robin Lopez. He made a couple baskets, he missed a couple baskets, but that's not what they want to do. You got teams uncomfortable and trying to go for shots that are going to get them 2 points when the Rockets are going down the other end, making shots that'll give them 3. The math is in their favor, and I think that Russell Westbrook right now, this might be the best version that we've seen. Like, he fits in this offense, this position that he's playing now, if you can even call it that. He fits in this offense better than he even fit when he was the MVP, when they were just throwing him the ball and clearing out so he could get rebounds and just letting him go to work. Like, he is more well-positioned here to do the things that he does best and let James Harden handle the ISO situations and handle the ball at the top of the key and make a lot more decisions. Russell is he's better situated now than he was then. I think this is the best version we've seen, and that team is scary. But I do think that the Nuggets, the team that Popovich was talking about and saying that the Joker is somewhat like Larry Bird, I'm not a basketball historian enough to say whether that's true or false. It sounds a bit like hyperbole to me, but I do like the Nuggets in that situation. And I'm a big Bol fan, personally. I know he's not the guy there, but I just want Bol with the rock at the top of the key. That always looks beautiful with him handling the ball and passing the way he can.
Burke, let me ask you this. You heard with the KD comments. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Molly. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically what I was just going to say, we heard with KD, he's going Bucks and Clippers. Tell me this, because we got into a little bit earlier. What are your concerns with the Bucks? What are your concerns with the Clippers moving forward?
Go ahead, Perk.
Well, with the Bucks, I mean, we saw this movie before where they dominate the regular season and flop in the playoffs. Listen, we know what Giannis is going to bring to the table. I don't know what Eric Bledsoe and Chris Middleton are going to do because they have a history of disappearing in the playoffs. And you know that, and we all know that in order to win a championship, you have to have a Batman and you have to have a Robin. You have to have that guy that's going to step up. Last year in the playoffs, Eric Bledsoe, he didn't step up. They had to play George Hill in those minutes. Chris Middleton, he had a couple horrible games in the playoffs last year. So until the Bucks prove me wrong, I can't believe in them because we've seen this over the past 2 years where they have dominated the regular season and flopped in the playoffs. And when I look at the Clippers, listen, the Clippers are well coached by Doc Rivers, Ty Lue, Sam Cassell. That's my Celtic family for life, and I get it, right? But right now, I think it's a such thing of having too much firepower, meaning it's only one basketball. So my thing is somebody's going to have to sacrifice. Everybody's not going to be able to put up 20 shots. Everybody's not going to be able to get 15 shots. Who's going to take a back seat? Who's going to take a back seat for us not getting the minutes that they think they deserve? It's easier said, but you have to do it. And I don't know. The Clippers have to prove that to me. And by the way, in the bubble, they haven't had their full roster yet. Lou Will just got implemented last game. Montrezl Harrell have yet to return. So they still have some rotational problems that they have to address. But when I look at the Rockets, I have to give some credit to their role players. Ben McLemore has been playing tremendous basketball. By the way, Austin Rivers has been playing great. He's been playing great basketball, and I want to give him credit right now because a lot of people was talking about, oh, he's just in the NBA because of his daddy. No, he's in the NBA because that kid could flat out play. He could flat out play, period, point blank. So I want to make that emphasis about Austin. And then the Rockets are playing good, and they're missing Eric Gordon right now.
Yeah,
they're missing Eric Gordon.
I think your point about the Clippers is true about them not necessarily having their roles figured out because even before we went in the bubble, they weren't having all their players play all the time. Now they have guys coming in and out, and they don't necessarily fit together perfectly. I think that's one thing. Even though the Lakers don't have as much talent throughout the roster as the Clippers, the Lakers do have a clear kind of situation where they know that it feels like AD is going to do the load of scoring and get them to the fourth quarter in which LeBron James is going to beat LeBron James. Like, it feels like their roles, though their team is not perfectly built, their roles are defined. And about Molly's original question about the Bucks, the question with the Bucks, the thing that concerns you about the Bucks is what you saw at the end of that game against the Houston Rockets. It's an in-game situation, and it's going to happen a lot in the playoffs. You have a 7-game series. The opposing team knows all your sets. They know all your plays. They know all your tricks. At in-game situations, you're going to have to give the ball to your playmaker at the top of the key and let him make something happen. When Giannis, we saw at the end of that situation with James Harden, who's no one has ever accused of being a great defender, James Harden stopped him a couple times. And again, I understand how it's unfair to say it just based on one game, but Giannis has a track record, and that's something that comes up a lot. Is Giannis, because of his inability to shoot with range, it's hard to rely on him to close games and in-game situations. So that's the question for the Bucks. Obviously, they're talented enough to overcome it, but I think those are the questions for those remaining teams.
Hey, Dominique, you sure basketball wasn't your first love? Because the way you preaching today, brother, I'm like, man, hold on. You must have really loved basketball at heart and just fell into football during your career.
I had to. I was 5'11". I grew up in Baltimore. Trust me, I wanted to play basketball, but then I realized that was going to work out. So I had to figure out how to hit people to get this money. I wish I could have played basketball. It would have been a lot more fun, but I'm 5'11", and I can't handle like Chris Paul. So this is what you got to do. You got to learn how to backpedal. Perk, if you didn't have no ball skills, you'd have been playing nose tackle. So it's lucky you can handle that thing a little bit better than the rest of us.
Nah, I would have played. Nah, defensive end and tight end. No, don't get it twisted. I got that hand. I got these hands.
All right. Knowing our limitations, it's a strength too, right, Neek? All right, we'll leave it there. Perk, thanks for being with us. We will talk to you soon. When we come back here on First Take, a former teammate questions whether Cam will succeed under Bill Belichick. But is that an indictment on his